We'd like to ask all of the candidates that are running for the position of mayor for the city of Gainesville to take your seat on the dais. Those candidates that are present.
Okay, I got it. Okay, how are we doing today, folks? Mr. Benke has this chair over here for you. I'm sorry your sign is a little bit different, but I just raced across town, beat all the traffic, and developed a new question. Mr. Shepard?
It's cold.
Okay. I know Mr. Shepard. He shows up
That's good.
all the time. You're Facebook.
Pete Johnson.
There you go.
Same here.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Are we doing that at the FTC? Yeah, FTC. Just let people see who's there. That's Mr. Brad.
You need 2 water?
No, I have them because it looks like the mayor's next year.
How you doing? Hey, Pete.
This came from the audience.
Mark?
You can see
I'm
again.
doing great.
Thank you for taking my call.
No
Clarifying that.
I just housing commission.
Oh, congrats.
As far as
Love this venue.
Oh, good. I'll be in the paper here in a moment. Sure.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
World traveler, superstar.
I guess this the big league.
I guess so. Yeah. Mark, how are you, Pete? Good to see you.
Good.
I guess the last event chased a couple of people off.
Kind of fishy. Kind of.
It is, isn't it? Well, I think it's the reputation of this forum and the nature of the engagement.
Might also be getting a little scared.
What?
Might be getting tired of
Harold, how are you?
the tough questions I invite.
Yeah.
Keep custody of this. Well, okay. Just leave it. Oh, okay.
The speakers coming down.
Oh, gotcha.
Close the window and open it back up. It just went in the automatic off. That's all. That side window.
Do stand up.
If that window, if you close it and then open it back up.
I know, we just looked up right here.
It's fine. Well, I didn't notice it, but now that I do, I'll file a complaint. If I don't like the way it goes. If Mark says anything too clever, I object.
I'm the complaint manager.
Okay.
Among every other hat.
Yeah, he's a no-show, huh?
Yes, he did.
Hey, Don.
I'm not able to ask my question, but I gave it to him. He will
Okay.
rephrase it and answer it. But I hope that you could hit all of the
about to get
points that
started.
are there.
Mr. Golston, I guess it's time. It is surely time. Good evening again, and welcome again. The gentlemen that you have before you are seeking the mayor's seat. Mr. Vinsky, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Henry, and Mr. Brady. Everyone was invited. And we certainly appreciate them attending and having an opportunity to sit down and talk with you. We did receive a message from the mayor. He had a family emergency and couldn't make it. I'm not sure that he has someone here to represent him. Is there someone here that's going to take the mayor's spot? Who was that? Oh. Don't speak quick, because we'll come get you and put you there. No, I definitely don't want you to represent him. But things happen in life. We have certainly contacted the mayor a lot and didn't receive any messages regarding whether he could be here or not until the very last moment. But at any rate, we appreciate these men being here. Would certainly love and appreciate you listening to them attentively and giving them the respect that they deserve. Mr. Golston will again go over the rules, and I have a number of questions from the audience that I am going to try to address here. And we expect good things to come tonight, and for you to have an opportunity to see where these candidates stand. Mr. Golston.
Thank you very much, Mr. Owens. But before I get to the rules of the debate, I would like to extend and remark what the president just said. I want to make it perfectly clear that the Alachua County Democratic Black Caucus, we reached out to Mayor Lowe 3 weeks in advance. We sent him a packet through the mail. We emailed him 15 times. I personally went to City Hall last week and left a message for him to contact either one of us. Shelley Packer, Aaron Owens, or myself, left phone numbers. There was absolutely no response. Today, we received an email about the family emergency. And personally, I take it as an affront to this organization. I take it as an affront to the citizens. And I don't know who or what entity is advising him, but this was not the right choice. I sent an email today requesting that he send a replacement, a surrogate, campaign manager, anybody. And tonight we see there's no representative at all. I don't understand how anybody running for public office can expect for people to vote for them when they can pick and choose the venues that they want to attend and not attend. But gentlemen, this is your night with the Black Caucus, so get your votes. Thank you very much.
Rules. The rules are, each candidate will have exactly 3 minutes for an opening statement, and you will have 90 seconds to respond to a question, and you will have 2 minutes to rebut the first time around. And on the second round of a rebuttal, you will only get 1 minute. And if it's not concluded at that time, we'll extend it for 1 more minute so we can get some clarity on the position. Am I better with him?
That's great.
Okay. Mr. Owens? That was a quick intro, wasn't it? We'll start, if you would, and have the gentlemen introduce themselves and have their opening statements for 3 minutes. Mr. Vinsky.
Good evening. I am Mark Vinsky. I'm an entrepreneur working to start an electric taxi business in Gainesville, electric-powered taxi business. I've lived in Gainesville for 7.5 of the last 9 years. I ran for Gainesville City Commissioner in the last election, and I'm a political centrist. I have an education in landscape architecture. I've worked as a designer, draftsman, and technical illustrator for engineering firms and architecture firms, and have done many other types of work. I'm running for mayor for 2 reasons. First, I feel a calling to public service. I've been involved in political activities for almost all of my adult life. Second, from attending city commission meetings here in Gainesville, I've become convinced that even with the progress in many areas here in our city needs better leadership, the kind of leadership that I could deliver. More than anything else, our city needs commissioners and a mayor who will engage with citizens and tackle the tough issues that our city faces. My observations from attending city commission meetings for years now is that our current commission especially does a good job with the attractive, glamorous matters, and they tend to ignore not only citizens but also the challenging issues. Issues like the Cabot Cowper Superfund site, a horrible catastrophe on our north side. I don't think we should ever abandon those citizens, regardless of how long it takes and how many attempts we need to make to get environmental justice for them. And also on the biomass issue, recognized probably seemingly universally by our candidates and by our citizens who are paying attention as a top issue, if not the top issue in this campaign. I look forward to your questions tonight, and if elected, to serving as your mayor. Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson?
Well, my name is Pete Johnson. I've lived in Gainesville since I came to go to the University of Florida in 1978 and have never left. I've raised a family here. I've been a stockbroker and an entrepreneur. I've been in many different ventures. I've loved Gainesville since I first lived here. But I think Gainesville's, as Mark just said, and I think all of us will agree, is in need of new leadership. And one of the experiences that I've achieved over the 35 years in my life is in experiencing dealing with people and dealing with issues. And people are critical to the success of any organization, any community. And respect for people is also critical. And good ideas can come from anywhere. I've been a registered Republican all my life, but I voted my heart and by the people that are running. And I think where we are in this community now is we've gotten so political that even when mistakes are made, people won't accept or admit them, and they don't address them. As Mark just mentioned, one of the issues that's been long failed to be rectified is the Caucus Superfund site. And every commission, gives some lip service to the citizens that live around it and suffer from it, feel very frustrated. The people in this room, many of them have been working diligently for years now on the biomass issue to get the contract unredacted, suing the city to get information. I've had my own experiences dealing with trying to get information from the city. We have some issues to be addressed. We need new leadership. You're going to have 4 candidates tonight that agree on many of the issues. It's going to be a choice as to who do you think offers the best way forward for us to deal with these issues and find solutions. I'm offering my background, experience, and talent to the voters. I've never been a politician. I'm experienced in turning around companies, and I think Gainesville's in one of those unique situations where someone of my skills and experience might be very helpful and useful. And I'm here asking for your vote, asking you for your support, and certainly to help change, take Gainesville from being a good college town to a great city. Thank you.
Mr. Sherwin-Henry.
Well, good evening, everyone. As said, I'm Sherwin-Henry. I'm a native of Gainesville, as well as the former District 1 Gainesville City Commissioner. Let me just say that I'm here because I care, and I'm excited to be here, to have the opportunity to answer questions for you, to have you get to know more of who I am as a person outside of your knowledge of me, possibly as a Gainesville City Commissioner. I ask you to elect me as the next mayor of Gainesville because I do possess the qualities to lead, to make sound decisions, and I don't mind being held accountable. I ask you to become a partner of the Sherwin-Henry campaign for mayor. And with your vote on March 19th, we will make electing me the next mayor of the city of Gainesville a reality. Gainesville is the city that I love. This is where I met and fell in love and married my wife for 41 years, Charmaine. And I thank my sweetie for being here tonight to support me, because I love her dearly. Our 2 children, Gerard and Renee, were born at the now historic Alachua General Hospital. I'm a graduate of Lincoln High School, Santa Fe Community College as it was known then, now it's Santa Fe College. And I'm also a graduate of the University of Florida and I received my BS degree in food science. I currently work as a senior biological scientist with the Interdisciplinary Center for Biotechnology Research. My goal as the next mayor of the city of Gainesville is to be the mayor of all citizens of the city of Gainesville. And I felt that was very important to say. The Gainesville is on the cusp of greatness, and when one thinks of Gainesville, the word community comes to mind. The word community means a group of people coming together, living together, and sharing a common vision. With the conduct that is being displayed by the current mayor, this community is presently fractured. The mayor sets the tone of governing. The mayor should lead by example, and that is not the case with our present mayor. We must work to facilitate the city we love reaching the level of greatness we envision. I am the best candidate to become mayor because, again, I possess the leadership and sound decision-making needed to govern. I ask you to become a partner in moving the city of Gainesville forward. I ask you to vote March 19th. I ask you to vote Sherwin Henry for mayor. And I look forward to answering the questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sherman, you got 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Hi, I'm Donald Shepard. Look forward to being your mayor, and I have 114 entities in which I'm going to implement when I become mayor. This here is something that is my own drive, and the Lord's came to me through the Lord in prayer, and I took it upon my own self to go for this mayor position. I know that I have the drive, I know that I have the vision, and I know that I'm a people's person to first. That's one of my theories towards my views, is operating for the people. Not always operating for the businesses or plans or agendas, but operating for the people's views. Well, I don't write nothing down. I don't have to, because I know my vision. And my vision is to make Gainesville the city in which we are expecting it to be. Bringing in tourism, bringing in jobs, bringing in the things that the people want, not just what the city wants and the city commissioners or so and so, but what the people want. And I've been out there, I've got answers, and I'm going to put those into action when I get to put those into action when I get to be the mayor. And this is not me sitting here just because I desire to become a mayor. No, I'm doing this because people desperately need somebody in this chair that has a vision to represent them in the best form for them. And I know that I can do that. And I will give you all my heart and soul and my time towards this. I've done this far, and I'm not stopping yet. And I operate right now on an unemployment check. They ain't no $57,000 in my accounts like others have. I don't believe in mashing other people, but I very well could, but that's not my policy. My policy is not to be here to mash any other person that is on this board to run for mayor. My position is to represent the city, represent my people, and I can't do that alone. So I need the commission board, I need the city to be on my side. I have a couple clubs that. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here. This is a good audience. It's a packed crowd, as they say. I'm Ed Brady. I'm running for mayor to bring strong leadership to the office, fiscal discipline to the budget, and cost-effective services to the people of Gainesville. A little bit about my background. I'm a graduate of both University of Florida and Santa Fe College, and I currently work at Santa Fe College. I'm a father who wants to live in a city where his kids can grow up safely and actually can stay if they want to because it's affordable and they can afford to stay here. I'm going to deviate and just say I'm also a son, and I would be neglectful if I didn't recognize my father in the audience back there. Who I'm glad he came. He's a Navy. He was in the United States Navy, flew P-3s. He was a Gator alumnus and did football and baseball for the Mighty Gators. And most recently, he's a cancer survivor. And he's still with us, and I'm grateful he's here. So I just want to quickly recognize him. I'm a former 2-term commissioner from the city of Gainesville. I represented District 2, and I actually served at the same time as Commissioner Henry did for several of those years. And those were good years. Those were times when your utility bill was lower and when property taxes were lower, and we didn't add new fees like a fire assessment fee to plug the holes. We covered core services out of the general fund, which is what I believe the general fund is for. In the 5 years in the wilderness since I have left, I've worked with a nonprofit organization that looks at cost-effective solutions for cities in particular, urban areas, for transportation, for housing and land use, and I bring some of that. I add that to my the ledger of my experience. Now, why I'm running? Really simply, the abysmal leadership out of the mayor's office is probably among the worst we've had in a long time. It starts with the pettiness, the snickering that the mayor does at commission meetings with some other commissioners, some of whom may be in the audience, while other commissioners are speaking and while citizens are speaking, in which we don't hear what it is. And of course, it's a public meeting. It should be a public record, but we don't. But then it goes from pettiness to his desire to accrue power to the mayor's office, which we're not supposed to have. The charter is crystal clear about the mayor, the council manager form of government, and this mayor just assumes power, hires a mayor's aide, says he has to have a special assistant to go places where he can't be. Well, it turns out he couldn't be here tonight, so I don't know why his fill-in is not here. But then finally it goes to decision-making, and I hope the remainder of this gets to those opportunities to talk about the poor decision-making that is breaking this community and is really threatening the viability of our city. Thank you.
I'm going to start off with Mr. Benke. Mark, considering Gainesville controls one half of the MTPO, is the county seat and over 30% of GRU customers live outside the city? Does Gainesville have a responsibility when making decisions to consider how they impact the region, such as access to the county building, transportation, and issues such as regional jobs and the economic impact of that?
The MTPO is the Metropolitan Transportation. Thank you. Yes. Insofar as the city of Gainesville having the only transit system in the county, I've for a long time been an advocate for having inter-city or inter-town commuter service available. I'm surprised that a private enterprise has not taken up that challenge and that opportunity in the absence of RTS taking advantage of that opportunity. I think I've often pushed for and spoken at city commission meetings on my support for what I call kiss and ride parking lots, but others call park and ride. I like the former term better. So that people can drive to the nearest thoroughfare, get on a bus. Those who work in large employment centers like Shands, University of Florida, the other places around town, along the heavily traveled bus routes, and use that as their way to get to work and free up a lot of the traffic that's on our roads, congesting them during commuting times, leading to longer commutes for people, as well as creating a lot of other nuisances like air pollution. Thank you.
Any rebuttals to that?
Yes, Mr. Ghostin. if I may. Yeah, I would say Gainesville has a big impact on everyone else. First of all, Gainesville is the county seat for Alachua County, and so business and activities, government activities flow here. So the decisions made out of City Hall have a huge impact. The biggest one currently, I think, is with GRU. And we talk about the 30% of the customer base that's outside the city limits. But you know, the irresponsible biomass contract where we're fixed paying 30 years double the cost of energy is it's not just bad for people living in the city of Gainesville, it's bad for the county. And insofar as we are the county seat, the viability of the city organization, what's threatened now, will put at risk the other municipalities, the other townships, and the people who live in the unincorporated area. You know, it starts there, but I think there's many other areas. You know, we're having this lane reduction fantasy here, where we take out lanes and people will magically, you know, get out of their cars and you know, take the bus or frolic on the wide sidewalks or something like that. And the reality is it restricts access. It restricts access. We still have the same number of trips, vehicle trips, but now we have fewer lanes on which to travel. This is not an agenda issue. It's a math question. You get the same amount of vehicles going through a more narrow space, you get more congestion. And when that you have to fight through that congestion to get downtown, to get to City Hall, to get to the county building, to get to the courthouse, it just makes the entire experience bad, and people don't want to do that. So I think the decisions out of City Hall, yes, as a mayor, we have responsibility to know our decisions have impacts that go beyond our borders. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, the MTPO, Metropolitan Transportation Planning Organization, and I think the key word here is planning. First of all, in this day and age, governments cannot act in a vacuum. We must work together for the good of the citizens of our county. Yes, Gainesville is the seat of county government, so to speak. But what we do does affect the other municipalities. A great example was the transit tax that was on the ballot during the presidential election. And as I sat as a city commissioner and I heard and felt the representatives of other municipalities express their need, I shared with my colleagues this was a moment for us to not be the bully on the block, but to generate goodwill among the other municipalities. The other thing is our system is called Regional Transit System. Regional Transit System, not Gainesville Transit System. So that means that we need to expand transit services to all citizens of the county, that they will have access, and that we must decrease the headways, and we must have routes going to those that truly need them, and not have the routes centered around the university. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, but again, partnership is the key. Partnership is the key to improving our city and county. Thank you.
Mr. Shepherd.
My opinion about this RTS thing is that we've reviewed the maps of these RTS four-ways. And this park and ride is going to confiliate, and it's going. What I mean by confiliate, the city is putting in all these roundabouts, speed bumps, and mediums that have, by the traffic study of our police department and our fire department, their studies has proven that those are entities that do not need to be placed in our city. We're wasting our city money for something like this, and to bring in the things that they have put into place for our city to city taxpayers they can have to pay for, when they did not send a letter to their residents asking them would they pay for this. Was there any money coming back from GRU to pay for these taxes? from these utility bills? No. And I, as a upcoming mayor, I tend to address this. I intend to address all these entities, the GRU, transit, this new railroad station and place they want to bring in. They're going to have to show me how this takes and represents the people, how we as a people are going to benefit from it. As I said many times before, I'm a people representative, and all these entities that this city has needs to address us, the taxpayers. Thank you.
Well, we're going to continue to focus on the transit problems.
Can I
Yes, indeed. Go
just
ahead.
say we could have a minute?
Yes, you
right
got
now?
a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. The one thing that I did want to add is that leadership seeks solutions for the common good, and governing is a people business. And when you look at things like transportation, we have great theories and great concepts, but at the same time, when you're dealing with that, you cannot leave out the people factor. And but I know, and it's my experience from sitting on the city commission, a number of times my colleagues would talk about doing things and they would forget about how people will be affected. And it's important that we don't ever forget who we serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to add also that the University of Florida should get the bus service for which it pays. They contribute very handsomely to our operation of our transit system, and we cannot be transferring money that they have contributed to supplying a level of service to their student body, staff, and faculty that for another purpose. We have to leave it for their use and to continue providing this service to them for which they pay. Thank you.
Let me add that the University of Florida, last numbers I saw, only they do pay a lot to RTS. It only covers about 70% of the operating costs for their routes. So there's a gap there, and I think as mayor we should try to bargain, and the city commission should try to bargain in good faith with the University of Florida for them to increase their fee and their support structure to get closer to balancing that scale.
We're only allowed 1 minute.
Yeah, you have one extra response. Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Transit, any kind of transit, whether it's rail, bus, what have you, does not pay for itself. Neither do highways or roads. It's entirely subsidized by the government. And I don't know what the level of payment for the rest of our RTS service, not counting the University of Florida service, is, but it's probably not 100% either. So I would probably look to expect to have the same level of financing from the University of Florida as we have from the city of Gainesville for its own municipal and adjacent bus service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also expand on what we were talking about with regional transit. You were right. I don't know how much history you know about the transit system and why it was devised by the federal government. It was never designed to make money. It was designed to make sure that poor people could get to work, back home, to work, downtown, if they want to shop, or to visit their friends and relatives.
Right.
It was never designed to make money. But saying that, I'm going to say that regional transit has been in existence for 20 plus years or more, 40. They have yet to expand any kind of advertising or information that needs to be disseminated to African Americans. Never. They have never extended a contract to African Americans to build anything, not even a section of a sidewalk. Now, the rapid transit proposal that's active now excludes the east side of Gainesville. So if you're elected mayor, what are you going to do about it?
what I would do about it is I'd eliminate this policy, land over land. That their policy is a policy that is overtaking people's properties. It's overtaking people's businesses. This here policy needs to be stopped, and stopped now. I've become mayor. I'm going to take and go through these proposals, which the city's already put in the agendas, which they want to take and have us taxpayers pay for. I live in District 1, which is mostly African American people, as you say. I call them just American people. I'm an equal rightist, I'm a movement activist, and I'm a people representative. I don't see how this RTS has addressed the African American people or the people in general. It was all addressed to the city needs. And I think that a mayor like myself will go into each and every agenda and review each and every one of them and see how they will take and respond back to the people. Because we need this money back here to take and build our jobs. We need this money to build better housing. We need this money to take and show the people that we're here 100% behind them. We don't need a mayor that's going to insult people like he has. When I overheard what I heard today on 99.5, that the mayor and his two individuals that were in his car was spotted up on 34th Street removing signs.
Cliffhanger.
Okay, well, we'll get back to that. But we're going to stay focused. I appreciate that information, though.
Thank you.
And they were your signs.
Okay.
Oh, he says they're my signs. Now this is relevant.
Mr. Bradley, I want you to answer that question.
Yes, sir. What would I do? What would I do?
I'd like to say something that I was listening to.
Yeah, we'll come to you. I'm gonna come to you. Everybody go get a shot at this. Now, you know, regional transit has done absolutely nothing to inform African Americans of bus routes, to afford them the opportunity to have bus services, and I think in an equitable manner. They have never reached out to the black community when in the past the money they received was based on those black riders back in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s and the 80s. And now it's focused in another area. So as mayor, how will you transform that mindset that department heads have with the city of Gainesville that will discontinue this kind of behavior?
Right. I will. This is the approach I would take. First of all, I agree with Mark that transit does not make money, and it's not supposed to. The point is, it's a service that government renders. So you have to ask yourself, should it be a service based on need or a service based on want? The future designs that the city has for bus rapid transit are based on luring people who otherwise wouldn't take the bus out of their cars to take their bus, leaving behind people who truly need reliable transit service. So what I would do is, one, I would not implement BRT. It's a boondoggle, and I hope we have time to elaborate on that. But more importantly, what I would do is I would take before the city commission and ask them to vote on this, that we would dedicate 3 out of every 4 new dollars that come into transit to reducing headways on the routes in East Gainesville, principally those routes, because the biggest indicator of ridership is headways. I've looked at this all over the country. I've actually been in front of audiences in other places and have advocated for bus rapid transit because the conditions were right. And the two conditions are high density and economic intensity, and we don't have it here. So it would be just taking a big pile of money and throwing it in a hole for us to do that while we're neglecting the one concrete and tangible thing we could do, which is reduce headways. Our regional transit system gets lots of federal dollars. And so when they get those money, instead of trying to, again, chase people who really don't want to take the bus and buy very expensive, elongated, what are called articulated buses, Let's put 3 out of 4 of those new dollars to improving the headways, get them down to 10 minutes or 15-minute intervals, and then you'll see ridership take off. And the remaining money can continue to do what it does well, which is pick up students from their apartments, take them to the university, and back again.
Mark.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing to all of our attention who did not know about the inequities of the services and the contract with RTS. I would definitely pay attention to that. I would stay in communication with you and others who might be well versed in the history of RTS's involvements with the African American community. I'll take a little bit of an issue with some of my colleagues up here, my fellow candidates. I think BRT, let me start by saying that I attended the RTS open house at which they unveiled and answered questions for the public on BRT. And I would take a little different approach. I would like to see us experiment on a trial basis on, for example, the most heavily, whichever route would seem to be from market research to have the most promise as a possible BRT route. I'll also take issue with you in that my understanding is that the BRT was retained on the Waldo Road corridor, but was dispensed with on the Hawthorne Road corridor. As envisioned currently by RTS, the corridor starts at Gainesville at Letcher County Regional Airport and extends around to the Oaks Mall. Otherwise, I'm in agreement on a lot of the other stuff. I don't think we should put a lot of money into BRT until we see if it works, and we can do it on an experimental basis. I think that reducing congestions on the road, reducing air pollution, so we don't have to breathe as many toxins, is worth trying to make it work at the earliest time it's practical and possible. Thank you.
Okay, Mark, it's okay to disagree with me, but you have to have the right facts.
Okay.
Waldo Road separates black Gainesville from white Gainesville. Okay? That is the line of demarcation. And so running down Waldo Road is not going to have any positive effect for African Americans who live east of Waldo Road unless they want to walk from their homes and walk all the way to Waldo Road. Okay?
Thank you.
So demographics do play a strategic part of how these things are done. But because you don't have folks who sit at the table who really are concerned about this, and I'm saving Mr. Henry for last because I got a specific question that is connected with this. That never happens in the black communities. That's what I said earlier. There is no information provided. There is no advertising provided, okay, through black media. There's a lot of that going on. It's been going on for years. So until a mayor comes along who understands those moving parts and dynamics, the problem will continue to exist. Mr. Johnson?
Well, I've had the personal experience, it was many years ago, to serve on the Transit Advisory Board. And just to your point, it was in 1980 when I was on the advisory board, they considered it a service for the disadvantaged and handicapped in our community. And I advocated a position of, back then before University of Florida did anything, which they started in '95, I advocated freshman students should have a bus pass, and we ought to try and get students to ride the bus and try and have a bus system that was actually a viable option, not just for a service for people that had no other option. Because it's my belief that if you make a viable option and it's a better alternative, you will get riders. And you saw what happened at the University of Florida when they decided not to fund more parking facilities and to fund a bus system to serve the students and give the students a bus pass. They got ridership, and they reduced the headways. That, you know, we've got the highest per capita ridership of any city, per capita in the country. The thing that's missing, I think, and maybe at the last forum last week, Mark educated me, we've improved some of the routes, but without a focus on having real options, if you can have service to the east black side of the community, it has to be a viable option for them to take it. just as like the students, you could have bus service, and if it's not viable, they're going to figure out another way to get there. So my view is we have to have a business sense of looking at the community, and certainly many of the things you brought up today are new information to me. The communication between your perspective and from my perspective, living in Gainesville for 35 years has to be improved. We need to recognize this is a whole community. The bus service serves not just the city of Gainesville, but Alachua County, and we need to do better.
Well, the reason I saved Mr. Henry for last is because of this. When Mr. Henry was a city commissioner, I had requested that Mayor Lowe to bring together all of the city of Gainesville department heads to talk about the lack of African American businesses being used. He never did a thing. Never responded. Even though I went to his office, talked with him, never did a thing. I asked Commissioner Henry once at church. I said, we need to sit down. A couple of weeks later, he had every department head sitting in the city manager's office. And we discussed it. Now, I'm saying that because even though nothing came out of it, as a commissioner, he was concerned enough to do what the mayor didn't do. And I'm going to give the question to Mr. Henry as to how would you handle that situation with RTS if you're elected mayor?
Okay, well, let me start out. First of all, just sharing a few points. Number one, when we talk about District 1, please understand District 1 is 60-40, 60% white, 40% black. Number two, District 1 is not just East Gainesville. It covers all quadrants of the city. East, southeast, northeast, northwest, southwest. And I just want to clarify that. Secondly, as the District 1 Commissioner, under my tenure, I was able to get 2 new routes in District 1. I was able to get those routes to run longer. They ran until 11 o'clock. I spent early mornings meeting with Jesus Gomez and the city manager to get those new routes. Now, when it comes to BRT, it's a good concept, but the citizens have been telling us what they want. They want us to improve the roads. Aren't we supposed to be responsive to the citizens? They want us to improve the roads. They want us to improve the regional transit system. Can we plan for BRT? Yes, we can. But right now, we need to perform the basic infrastructure actions to give access to all citizens in our city. And number two, provide better roads for our citizens to travel upon. And then once we do that, then we can begin to implement BRT. But it is going to be expensive, and now is just not the time to do that. Plan for it, yes, but to put all energy in implementation at this time is not the wisest thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Mr. Bradley?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think there's so many things wrong with this concept, and I want to point out, one, the cost. It's a fraction. What we've heard is just a fraction of it. The MTPO's own cost feasible plan, when you add up all the different legs, it comes out to over $320 million. Now, that's a pretty big cost to do this, and I've seen this done elsewhere. If we experiment and just do one segment, it's not going to work very well, and so what are you going to hear from the political class? Well, that's why we have to have more. And then eventually it comes, you can't just take a bite of the apple, you have to get the whole thing. So it would be a tremendous waste. When you talk about the service to, basically, when you take out the student equation, we see that we have a transit system that really struggles. We have a fantastic transit system for college students. It's not so good for elsewhere. The University of South Florida's Center for Transportation Research looked at the non-student ridership for the metropolitan area, and it's 3.8%. That's it, 3.8%. That's the non-student ridership. So by selling BRT as the solution, it's not going to do that. As you pointed out, the Hawthorne Road corridor is dropped, and according to an email from Commissioner Hawkins, it's not even going to be put back in for the life of the then sales, the surtax, which, as you know, is 15 years. So that's 15 years where it's left off. And the only stop on the Hawthorne Road corridor between the airport and downtown was one place, the University of Florida East Campus.
And can I Mr. Caucus?
Yeah.
Just one other thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. When it comes to public transit, the component needed is density, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, as I had conversations with RTS about improving the routes, improving the headways, the first thing I'm told is, well, we need density. But if residents are having to wait in the early days, well, still to a certain extent, 45 minutes to an hour to get the bus, to get where they're going to find alternative methods of traveling. And so, essentially, residents in East Gainesville are placed in the position of putting the chicken before the egg. If they know that they can't depend upon the timely bus, they're going to find other ways to travel. Bike, cab, getting a friend to take them. And so that's why it's important for us to improve our regional transit system. Those people have to shop, they have to go to work.
Okay, I'm going to turn the Biomass questions over to Mr. Owens, and I'm quite sure this is going to really be an opportunity to express yourself.
Well, certainly, I have one about the Caucus Superfund site to start with. It's something that we hear very little about anymore. What has been accomplished with that? Anyone?
Not much.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the Copper Superfund is a very complex issue from the standpoint that we are, to a degree, at the mercy of the government. I will say, though, that we were able, during the time I was on the City Commission, we were able to get $87 million from the EPA. But the crux of the matter, too, is that the jury is still out on the health effects as well. And there is supposed to be research happening with that, such as the toxic dust factor and so forth also. And that's about as much as I can really tell you right now. I do know, too, though, that there have been discussions at looking at, once we're able to basically clear out the area, the sand and so forth, the contaminated dirt, looking at what would that property be good for as far as development as well. But it is a very complex situation.
I have a comment on that. About 6 months ago, GRU discovered dioxins which were directly attributable to the Coppers plant, and the levels were very high. They've corresponded with the attorneys. They have since closed that plant where the GRU workers were working, so I don't think the jury's out at all on the potential health effects of dioxins. And from what I'm aware of, the proposed EPA settlement was to leave the dioxins, the materials, they were going to mitigate them by collecting them but store them on the site, which given the fact that they've migrated to other sites, my question is, as a city, have we really taken the responsibility to find the power and of course the money from the EPA and the political clout and will to make this a priority, to get it finally resolved, to look at the impact of the neighborhoods, the individuals who are not of the power of GRU that goes and gets their yards tested and find out their conditions. We've for too long ignored this problem, and like a lot of problems, as long as they're not in the media and they're not brought up at these kind of forums, nobody addresses them, and then we talk about some other problem, and it doesn't get addressed. And I, for one, am embarrassed that for 30 years we haven't solved this problem.
I want
since I was talking first and he was saying about, no, the jury is not out, the jury is out because they are looking at the surrounding neighborhoods to see exactly and to find out the degree of contamination in the surrounding residences.
I thought you said you were questioning whether the dioxins were a health risk.
No, I wasn't questioning that, but we have to find out the degree of contamination, and that does take time and it takes money.
I'd like to say that. All right. I want to say that this represents a good example of the mayor's failed leadership. This requires, the city has a commission, but you have one mayor, and that mayor needs to wield the gavel as a bully pulpit on this issue. Instead of trying to embarrass other commissioners who are talking like he does currently, we need to turn our attention to real problems such as Copper Superfund. When I was a District 2 commissioner, I thought I was doing the right thing. I wrote letters to the EPA. I went to Washington and stood there and said we need to do this. Went to Senator Nelson's office, asked him to do something about it. Went to our U.S. reps. I did what the tools that a district commissioner has, and I'll be the first to say I didn't do them all. I looking back in hindsight, having been out of office, I wish I'd stayed on it more. But I did. I did what I think most commissioners we feel is within our power to do. The mayor's office is not legislatively stronger, but it is on these symbolic matters, and Copper's isn't, but the office of the mayor does have symbolic authority. And as mayor, I would be insisting that we dig it up and get it out. There's a bunch of different remediation strategies they give you. Look, if we can dig a big hole behind Depot Park, we can dig a hole here, take out the contamination, and get it out of the city. It doesn't belong here.
Thank you.
Where does the money
I agree.
Where's the money coming from to pay for that?
Beyond that,
Us.
it's an astronomical fee to excavate all of the contaminated soil and to incinerate it, to destroy the nature of the toxins, to break them down into harmless substances. Just this past, about a week and a half ago, I attended a panel discussion on this very subject at Santa Fe College. And they had a number of people there who served on the panel. One is a historian, a woman who's a professor of history at Santa Fe College, who lives in the neighborhood, who has documented and kept track of everything, and she's a good storyteller, and she has a good memory. So she's able to provide an outstanding historical perspective for the purpose of a panel discussion. And I'm sure she could probably write a book about it too if she wanted to. But we also panelists were representatives from GRU, Rick Hutton, Utilities Director, and also a gentleman from the Alachua County Environmental Health Department. And there was also, at the end of the panel discussion, others who were in the audience who introduced themselves. One was an attorney for one of the groups of citizens who've been trying to get justice, who've been trying to get cleanup of their neighborhood and compensation for their losses. And he said that their perspectives on what the extent and degree of contamination are quite different from those assumed by the city of Gainesville and Alachua County. Quite broader, worse than those two entities. And they're pursuing their options. Now, there has been a cavalry that came to the rescue here to town, a consortium of various large legal firms across the country.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say a lot.
You got two
All these gentlemen here are telling you stuff that's already been reviewed by the city commission. Mr. Wells sitting here, he can verify my word. People that come to these agendas, these commission meetings, know the facts. And the facts are, this Coppertone project is under review. All of the entities that are being taken place with the city budget and that, it's all in the agendas. You can go on your computers and look at it. As far as the bus pass thing, that's another thing that has been is addressed, and it hasn't been overlooked. As far as handing this University of Florida any money, I'd rather be slapped in the face than to be giving this university any money, because $91 million they take in every quarter, and then we got to donate money to this university? No. Another thing that they addressed is this bicycle path. Yes, it's good, but where's the money coming from? We ain't got the money right now. What we need to do is address the problems that us, the citizens of African American people, need the money to have a better life. And it is not being addressed, as you stated. And this, if I become mayor, it's getting addressed. You can bet my last dollar on that.
Mrs. Ghost.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. To me, as my former colleague on the commission said, even though the mayor by the charter isn't given more power, he is still looked at as the leader. But also, too, Gainesville is not the only city that has experienced something like Caucus. And to me, it would behoove us as a city to find that case study, especially of those cities that have solved the problem, look at what they did and see if we couldn't create a game plan to mimic that, to achieve the success of finally bringing this situation to a close. And for the life of me, I don't know why staff or the resources have not been directed in that manner. So
I would like to say something. And I think it's a political will of the community, and it's also what we've been all talking about. It's the leadership of our community, and is whoever gets elected mayor, I think it's going to be paramount for them to take the responsibility and be accountable for the outcomes of if they're serving as to what they say. As you started earlier tonight, politicians come and say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then nobody holds them accountable, including the voters. And so we've all lived through this. I've never been a politician. I've been trying to have influence by going and talking to people, and just as your experience, and had some success that way. People have responded to me that. But I think as a community, we got to find, the priorities that we're going to address. Mr. Shepard is right on. If you can't afford it, we can't make those a priority. I think what we have to do as a community is make priorities and be accountable for them.
I'd like to rebut because it's brought up about, well, it's expensive to dig it up and all of that. Well, again, it gets to the political will. This city commission wants to begin the phase that for a bus rapid transit system that will have ultimately, according to the community investment plan, a $300 million build out. Plus, $300 million would dig a lot of contaminated soil out of the ground. And in terms of where we go with it there, this is the same city commission that wants to buy these huge, elongated, jointed, big bus rapid transit buses that very few people would ride. I'd put the contaminated soil in there and drive it right on out of the county.
Do I have another comment?
Okay.
We have the money, and it's locked up in that money that they didn't get in the policy of this biotreatment plant. $10.8 million was left out of that pie. What they call that is I want to brain dead there for a minute. Where you taking hide something. And it's a legal term for you hiding something. And this
it's called the mayor's agenda.
Okay? No, it's not a mayor's agenda.
Well, it's the current ones.
Okay? No. This is something that they deliberately did. The water refuse, also the piping was not in it. And when you're going to bring something to the board, you want your biotreatment plant to be approved by the city, then you need to put everything in the paper. And as a mayor, I'm going to determine and state, when you come to the table, you tell us everything, or don't come to the table of commission boards or the mayor.
Leadership is something at least 4 of you have brought up tonight regarding the commission and the current mayor, if I have it correct. If elected, what do you think you could do to restore the people's trust that they have in the honesty and open government? Mr. Johnson?
That's actually probably the primary reason I got motivated to run for mayor. My experience in business, I was started out as a stockbroker, and then I started raising money for various ventures, and invariably these ventures had good ideas and not necessarily the great management leadership skills to be successful. I got involved and would turn around and sell them. And some years ago I helped found the Leadership Institute at the University of Florida, thinking we could bring in some talent that could help other companies have more success by getting some training in leadership development. The issue about leadership is a critical one. It's also one of learning respect for other opinions. And I think the first thing that happened, and it happened about a week before our current mayor began his term, but as part of the consent agenda, the retired city attorney determined that they would change the way people could access information when they access prior to 2008 of 2010, you could go to the clerk of the commission, make a request, and they would come back. They might charge you a copying fee. That got changed as part of the consent agenda, and ever since then, you have to find the person that is the record keeper, and then they provide you with the information. And if you were here earlier tonight, Mac McEachern alluded to that, where they could tell you what their hourly rate was, and they could come up with some outrageous fees in order to get information. That's the first thing I think would change, which would not only respect for the citizens and citizens' comment, but make access to information readily available and bring sunshine back into the city government. Thank you.
Okay. Well, first of all, a good leader listens. That's the first thing. As I'm running to become mayor, yes, I might have ideas and a vision as to what I want to implement, but most of all, it's important that I hear from those that I will be representing as mayor what your desire is. A case in point, we talked about it tonight, bus rapid transit. The residents are saying we want our roads fixed, we want our regional transit improved, but we're putting priority on bus rapid transit. And that's just one of many things that government, local government, the city commission is at odds with as far as the residents. The second thing is serving, you must not, first of all, take everything personal, and you must welcome constructive criticism. We don't know everything, but because we're elected city commissioners or mayors, we don't have all the answers, but you are our partner in growing this city and moving it forward and making it the place that we want it to be. That's the second thing. And the third thing is to always be aware of who you serve. It's not about I, it's about us. And that's what I would do. Thank you.
I would, my name is Donald Shepard, and thank you all for coming. I deeply appreciate it. As your mayor, I will take and look into these matters, as I've told you. I think if you're going to be a mayor, you need to be there. You don't need to be walking around the city or doing what you personally want to do. You need to be there for the people. And not being at your commission meetings and getting the reviews of what is subjected with the planning board and different departments brought to the mayor to take and discuss and to learn about what changes need to be taking place, you need to be there. I don't see anybody on this podium up here that has been there other than myself. I don't see anybody that's up here that has been representing the people. And there's a gentleman in the crowd and women in the crowd that can testify to my facts. I'm not a person who just goes by what's in paper. I go by what's in my heart and what the people tell me. And I don't have no education like these people do, but I have drive, I have heart, and I have the people representing me, and the Lord God representing me. And with all that, you can guarantee that there's going to be policies addressed to help the people who are in need, not the people that, oh, we need this painted, we needed that repaired, we need this bicycle place put in, we need upgrading to the RTS. No. You address the people like the homeless, Black Americans, and societies that are here to take and help the city grow. Do that first. Thank you very much.
I'll take a crack at this. The first thing we need to do to restore the trust of the people is to welcome the people back into City Hall. Right now, they are sort of, they have to sign up before 6 o'clock if they want to address public comment, and they get 3 minutes, and heaven forbid they go to 3:15, because then an officer will show up at the mayor's, nod, and suddenly you need to sort of scoot on out of there. Look, we have a commission meeting, we have public comment, we're supposed to follow rules. We have 3 minutes. If we're finding out that citizens are typically going to 4 or 5, why not make it 4 or 5 minutes? It's not going to kill commissioners if they, instead of getting out at 11 o'clock, they get out at 11:07. And then the people can speak. And then if it's someone like, I see Gabe in the audience, he often has a lot to say. If he really had something very pressing, why not put it on the agenda? Why not say, okay, at the next meeting you can come and we'll give you 15 minutes. Instead of just trying to corral citizens out of the hall that really belongs to them and not to the government. The public records request. Make public records easily accessible. Put it on the web so that anyone can get to it. We have sophisticated search engines. There's no excuse why public records are not easily and affordably accessible to the public. Respect the charter. Don't hire your campaign manager to be your mayor's aide, for heaven's sake. That undermines confidence. And then make competent decisions. People want government services, but they should be delivered at a cost no greater than necessary. And then lastly, I think the biomass contract represents the worst of government and how it undermines it. So many things were done underhanded. It locks us in. And the company that we're dealing with is pretty much acknowledged they violated the contract. And I'm old school. A violated contract is a voided contract. And that should be the posture of the City Commission. That will restore trust.
And I would like to say, though, that I appreciate that my idea did take root with my colleague about the 4-minute expansion for public comment as well, like mine's.
I'll give you that. Support my allocating 3 out of every 4 new dollars to reducing headways in East Gainesville, and that's a good deal.
All right.
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to change direction just a little bit.
Excuse me, I didn't get a chance at that one.
I'm sorry.
Do I get a swing at that one?
You got it. You're on base.
All right, thank you. The question was, how would we restore confidence and also leadership, restore trust and exercise good leadership? My political credo, which I'm going to recite in my closing remarks, goes directly to that. That includes integrity, clarity, fiscal responsibility, accessibility, and those qualities that I practice myself and would practice to my duties as mayor would inspire confidence in what I was doing. I believe in trust. Also, I have a long history throughout my entire adult life of being involved in civic engagement, civic issues. So my typical position is on that side of the lectern, addressing city commissioners and boards and things like that. And from that experience, that lengthy period of experience, I am very acutely aware of the needs for citizens to be able to express themselves, to share what they need to, and would expand opportunities for them to do that. I agree completely with Mr. Brady and with Commissioner Pope, by the way. That's his idea as well. He's calling it Gov 2.0 or something like that. Do a Google search on it, you'll find that a number of cities around this country have gone to putting basically all public records online, and there's no reason we cannot be doing that today, and should need to move to do that as expediently as possible.
You're all talking nonsense.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Records that are at issue are held by the city attorney. Those are the ones who need. He's corrupted the city.
Please, sir, please.
Is that Mayor Lowe's sit-in?
Next question. Gentlemen, do you oppose exercising the right to terminate the biomass contract based on an ordinance given the option if the company violates the agreement?
I've already tipped my hand on that one. Should I answer again? Yeah, I mean, can I expand? And since I said that first. Yeah, I think the posture of the city should be, we should terminate the contract. They violated the contract. I'm a big believer in honoring contracts. We have contracts with different bargaining units, the police, the fire, and all that. We honor our contracts. But when the company violates the contract, when we unilaterally disarm by taking out a back-out clause, all of these things are going to impose huge costs on the customers of GRU, and it's unacceptable. More than 2,000 people have their electricity cut off every month by GRU for failure to be able to make payments. I'm sure some of it is their own mismanagement, but I think a lot of it is the fact that they're either low income or they're fixed income, and their utility bills are going straight up, and it's only going to get worse. It's set to get worse. The city commission's position must be to get out of that contract. At a minimum, if they take it to a court and they can't get there, that should give them a strong bargaining position to get Greg back to the table to negotiate for lower rates. Instead, we have this faux partnership where you talk about, oh great, we're suing each other, but we're all friends, we're all partners. They're not partners. They're gouging us. They're gouging the customers of Gainesville's regional utility.
I think where this credibility should go, this credibility should go into the people's hands that have actually did the footwork of it. Right there sits one of them. Right there, back there sits another one. Those are the people that should take the credit for canceling this biotreatment plant. They're the ones that need the letter from this mayor that is in office right now, apologizing to them for taking their time away, for wasting their time for over the years that they've spent here on these commission meetings trying to get this stopped for the people's behalf, not for their own pockets, for our pockets, us poor people. That's who really deserves the credit.
So you would exercise that right to terminate?
Yes, I would exercise that right to terminate in a heartbeat, because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been to these public meetings. Have these people been at the public meetings? No. Have these people been representing you as a people? No. Have they spoke up and said, do we need the 4As in Gainesville? No. Have they come to the 4As meeting? A few of them did, yeah. But what was really happening here is you need someone like myself to show you, not only tell you, but to show you, just like that lady there and Deputy Martinez. Joan and Deputy Martinez. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Vinsky, you're up.
Thank you.
You don't even need to speak.
Again, short answer, yes. I'll elaborate. That has emerged in my mind as the preferable option, to terminate over negotiate and start from scratch. I'm very interested to see what other publicly owned and investor-owned utilities are paying for biomass-produced electricity in our country. I suspect that we're paying more than what others are. I would after trying to convince my fellow commissioners to vote to terminate the contract, I would push for a market-tied rate for electricity from that plant, in that we would pay, maybe 5–10% over what the market rate for the least expensive alternatively produced source of electricity would be, acknowledging that it might have some environmental benefits over other forms, not acknowledged by a lot of people, like the lady in the back shaking her head no. Or perhaps just 1-to-1, make it identical to the others. We have to do something to make electricity for the people who are not as conservation-minded as some of us. Some of us would gladly restrain our use of energy to the point that we would not have to use any of the dirty forms of energy. But we are required by law to provide it. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Actually, short answer, yes, I think we should be as aggressive as we can be in dealing with any possible way to get out of the contract. The reality is, the courts, the arbitration, all these things, we don't know what is going to happen. So we're going to have to look at every other way to mitigate our fiscal issue we're going to have when this plant comes on. And even if we took the most aggressive approach and got out, I'm not sure how long before the lawyers and the judges determine what the outcome is. So in any case, I think we ought to be recognizing the fact that even before this biomass plant comes online in potentially December of this year, GRU has become one of the most expensive utilities in the state, and if you're a commercial customer, it's a really expensive utility. So, you know, from a business person's perspective, I think we got to realize this is the situation we're in as a local utility. The city's been dependent on a $36 million towards their $105 million budget from a transfer from GRU. A lot of things become in jeopardy when this biomass plant comes online. And a mayor is going to have to take a leadership role in trying to find more customers, trying to find any way to mitigate the risk we're facing.
Thank you. Yes, I would exit the contract if the opportunity arose. And let me just state, too, that as the District 1 Commissioner during that time that we voted on the biomass plant, I did vote for it. And I voted for it according to the information that I received from staff. At that time, I also served as the Mayor Pro Tem as well. And hindsight is 20/20. But at the same time, for me, as I was pushing for an out clause in the contract, I should have remained adamant about that. But because of my talking to staff and what they were sharing with me, obviously I was misled. But the thing is, if we are able to mitigate the contract and exit it, yes, I would. But if we aren't able to exit it, then we should go into arbitration to reduce the rates. And it's important that we hold the rates down as much as we can to the original cost as well. If I had to take the vote again, no, I would not vote for it, but I have voted for it. And the point is, because I'm talking about being held accountable, and I hold myself accountable. And as mayor, handling the city's business, this opportunity arises to exit it, I will exit the contract.
I am told that a bill is slated to emerge from the House of Representatives that require a referendum vote as to whether oversight of GRU should be removed from the City Commission and placed in the hands of an independent ratepayer. Do you support this bill and the opportunity for local citizens to determine who oversees GRU? Mr. Shepherd?
I support that. I think that we should take GRU out of the hands of GRU. And there needs to be a survey given to us so that we can make this determination. I'm not one who to jump into a pond and not know if there's quicksand at the bottom. I'm one to know the facts before I go and jump in. And to take the control of GRU away from them right now is an excellent idea. The city commission that's on board, I'm not too pleased and impressed with. Too many fast agendas being pushed through. I don't see where they're asking the public or the African American people what their opinions are. And as a mayor, I'm coming to your house and I'm going to give you the specs and paperwork. I'm not going to take and have it hired out on Channel 20 or 51 or Channel 12. And a lot of us poor people, we don't get those cables. We can't afford them. We can barely afford our apartment rent. So yes, I think what we need to do is appoint somebody to take over. Thank you.
Gentlemen?
Okay, I'll answer. I support the concept, but it's a little more than just forming a board to take over GRU. Because first of all, you do have to account GRU. Right now, the next 3 years, GRU gives the city $36 million on the transfer. And whether we admit it or not, the transfer over the years has allowed the city to keep its property taxes low and pay for some services. The question will be, what will the citizens' commitment be in making up that deficit in the budget? Yes, some would say, well, cut jobs, but at the same time, it goes much deeper than that. What I would like to see in considering the advisory board is to have energy savvy persons on that board, because you will need the expertise as well. But we must move with caution as we develop the template for this advisory board.
My view is going to conflict with my fellow opponents in this mayor's race. My view is 100 years GRU has been managed by the city commission as long as it's been part of the city. And my view is it's up to we the voters to change the city commission to represent people that we think can represent us properly on the board. As citizens of Gainesville, we're all basically voters or one share owners of GRU. And the city commission, I completely agree, has disappointed us in this current situation and has done in the past. And at times the commission has had to make changes to right the ship, which is I think where we're at again right now. But thinking we're going to appoint a board, I served on the Alachua County Airport Authority, which is an appointed board. And it came out of similar circumstances where the airport was very disappointed because it was served by the city commission. And they passed a bill at the state level, and we recreated the airport authority. It's had a mixed success. I think we've gotten so it's been better. But thinking that you can appoint your way out of this problem with a new board is not really addressing the fundamental issues what we have right now. And even if you wanted to pursue that, it's going to take time. So I think the thing to do is change who we have on the commission and solve the issue right now.
Well, I have the answer to that, sir, and I don't think you are correct. And I can take and put that to the paper right now. Do you want to do that?
I'm sorry? I'm not correct about what?
His question was, do you want to change this, take this out of the commissioners and
I said I don't.
Their hand? And
Right.
you said don't. But you're saying that it should take and be approved by the city commissioners and the board that we have been staffed right now to take and make a decision in that. I don't approve of that. I think that what we need to do is have them show us. And as this gentleman that's sitting here's paper has brought up a lot of issues towards these. And for them to be overlooked, his questions in commission board to be overstated and overlooked needs to be addressed. And this here is something we can take and do. But we need time to
change that.
Even if we were to have city commissioners and a mayor who are not very well acquainted with the management needs of a utility, have they been doing their job correctly? Have they been listening to citizens who brought up serious concerns with the proposed biomass contract? They could have had the advice and direction that they would have needed to come to a better outcome on all of this. So that goes back again to the need in for leadership that listens to the people, provides opportunities for them to present information as needed in the future. Part of what we've done with the biomass contract is basically to put all our eggs into one basket. We've committed ourselves so deeply to the biomass plant that it leaves little money left for developing our abundant solar resource here in Florida. I'd like to remind people that the country of Germany, on many winter days, gets over half of its electricity from solar energy. And that country is in a northern latitude that gets less direct sunlight than we do, and they have more clouds than we do. And they still manage to get as much as half of their electricity from solar. And we need to be doing more in that direction. Jerry, you could lead the way in that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to weigh on that. And Germany also has twice the unemployment rate as the United States. There's a lot of things that Germany does. Some of it's good and some of it's not so good. We have a solar program. We have the solar feed-in tariff. If you actually look at where the facilities are that have them, there's only about 7 privately owned facilities east of Waldo Road. All the rest are west of it, west of Main Street. Yet everyone's paying for it. A lot of people who are going to get a notice that their utility bill is going to get cut off this month, they're paying for it. So there's nothing wrong with trying to promote solar, but let's do so in a way that's focused on what its impact is on low-income people. Let's do it on a way that focuses on the overall affordability of the service. To get to the question of the Independent Authority Board, I support what Commissioner Henry said about letting the concept go forward. Is anyone worried about the library reaching financial disaster? No. They have an independent board narrowly focused on promoting access to the libraries. Same thing with the Airport Authority. Focus on air service. So that's good. But I think the real goal is to elect competent leadership. This bill would be laughed out of committee if it was introduced 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when GRU was green, but also focused on affordability. And we've just lost sight of that. So let's start with new leadership. And if that doesn't work, then I certainly support an independent authority.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to move a little bit more to some housing questions and a couple other questions. And I would just like to let you know, before I ask you any housing question, I am a member of the Alachua County Housing Authority Board, and there is some of the questions I'm going to ask you to do that. First of all, can I just get a quick show of hands if everybody on the board believes that this bio plant should go down? Okay. Wow. Okay. Here's the housing question. Since 1985, state statutes have required local governments to facilitate affordable workforce housing and to disseminate throughout the jurisdiction, yet our housing pattern for 28 years now continues to be economically segregated. Will you defy the builders and developers who contribute to campaigns that influence and block that change? And do you believe that there should be diversification of housing throughout the whole city and not just in certain zip codes? First,
I'll go first. I think we need to expand our understanding of affordable housing. We see it as a governmental program. I think affordable housing should be a market condition. So there should be two approaches. How do we enact a program that we're supposed to have to make sure that there is affordable housing spread throughout the community so that people of low incomes can gain access to it and enjoy the fruits of home ownership. But also, how can we build houses that are affordable to low and middle income people? Believe me, these developers that want to make a lot of money, they will build a housing stock that people of all income levels can buy. But I will tell you this, if you're a builder and you try to pull a permit and start building affordable housing, market affordable, you wouldn't do it here in Gainesville. You would not do it here in Gainesville. The permitting process takes far longer than anyone else, and all that costs money. The codes, the regulatory requirements. You have commissioners that want to tell you what your facade looks like and what color it is. All of these things build costs into it. So we're stuck with just addressing one part, which is the programmatic approach. And I agree. We should follow not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law in enacting that. But we also need leadership that says we want it to be a market condition, because people will build for the market and they will make houses that people of low and middle incomes can buy.
Do you say that you are in the housing department?
I have been appointed by the county commission to be a member of the Alachua County Housing.
My question is to you, sir, is that then how come you haven't made affordable housing for these people?
Well, to be quite honest with you, sir, we just closed on the veterans housing, transitional housing up on 39th Street, and we also did our due diligence by having a land test to make sure that our veterans weren't being put in a house that are full of dioxins in the land. We got a clear, clean bill of health for our veterans. So yes, we are in the process of doing that exactly.
But Mr. Packer is not running for office.
Right, and I can only speak for myself and not for the Alachua County Housing Authority at all.
So I sure ain't seen it out the Lamplighter. I ain't seen it in Pine Grove. I'm not seeing it in these projects in here in Gainesville. And I've visited these places, sir, and I don't see how you're helping these people. And I'm a people representative, and I want you to take and show these people.
We're going to allow you and Mr. Packer to talk afterwards, and you can speak on that.
No, what should be addressed? We're here to address the people's needs.
Sir, please, let's wait. We've got our time, and we'll move on to it. If you'd like to have a personal conversation with me or any member of the Alachua County Housing Authority, please, our meetings are open. Please come to speak to us there. Thank you.
See, this is why things don't get done in this city. Because people like yourself hide it under cover and do not address it out in public. You're not bringing it to TV. And that's what you need to do. You need to bring it to the people.
Mr. Henry, you're up next.
Okay. All right.
You need to repeat the question, sir. Anybody?
No.
I think we're good. Well, first of all, I am in agreement with Ed in that really affordable housing and market housing really should be synonyms of each other as well. As you know, back in the 80s when we began the term affordable housing, it took on a negative connotation because residents who weren't of what people consider of a high income had a chance to become first-time homeowners. And so, you know, it took on somewhat of that negative connotation, but really we should be talking about market housing. As the District 1 Commissioner, I came up with a plan with our housing department that enabled us to have that subdivision built out on Waldo Road, and the city itself has done a number of homes for individuals. We've also partnered with Habitat for Humanity to also supply homes as well. And through our CRA program, we've done model block homes also. Can the housing stock increase? But I do agree again with Ed that the regulation really is a problem. Builders are in it to make a profit. If we make it too hard for them, they are not going to build, and they're going to go with the easiest route, those that can afford what they build.
Where I live is off of Glen Springs Road. There's a Section 8 housing development that was shut down some years ago called Glen Springs Manor. Recently a sign just went up and they're getting financing. I guess they're going to refurbish that. But the interesting thing about that is an example is when there was the recession, there was a lot of excess housing availability in Gainesville. And I don't know, maybe it's your authority, I'm not sure who condemned the property, maybe it's the federal government. But the property got in very bad disrepair, and they moved all the residents into other places in the community. And now, you know, again, it's market forces, whatever. It's taken almost 5 years for somebody to come back with a plan to create some housing there again, which is in a very nice part of town. It's accessible to shopping, and it's 2 blocks from where I live. And to me, those are the kind of things that we're talking about. If we can get the market forces, you can get the financing, you recognize that there is a certain level of quality that housing has to have for people to have a quality of life that they're going to want to live there. And some of the housing, the Kennedy homes, and which is an example of the degradation, and that is still a property that's never been restored. It sits there empty. And again, as a city, as a community, we're not taking responsibility for these issues and finding solutions. And I think that's what we need, new leadership to find solutions.
If I could ask you to explain your question just a little bit better for me without counting against my time. As I heard it, you were asking about insisting...
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No. Well, just maybe the last sentence or so. You were talking about going against the grain and approving, as I got it, housing in other areas where it has typically not been approved?
Well, the House and you and HUD is wanting is a diversification in zip codes and not to be a segregated society like we spoke a few minutes ago, that once you cross Waldo Road, you're in Black Gainesville. So, and instead of building whatever housing in that just one area, people have a right to be in many areas. So HUD is asking us, as we build, to have a excuse me, let me fix my attention there, a diversification of where housing is, and that is integrated within the whole county, not just segregated in certain areas.
Yes, I would favor and would vote for location of affordable housing, whatever term you want to use, low-income housing, subsidized housing, in small units, in areas that are typically have a history of being higher income areas. I say smaller because there is I think, a very well recognized realization in the low-income housing arena that to concentrate large numbers in large complexes does not lead to a good outcome compared to scattered site or distributed units. Quadruplexes, couple multiplexes scattered in among other areas, I think would be fine. I know there would be a lot of resistance to that, possibly from realtors and others in the city, but I'd be willing to take some heat on that. I think it's worth fighting for. I think people learn from those around them, and folks are influenced by their environment, and I think people can advance better if they're around people who are advanced. They get the vibe. But yeah, I would support that.
Can I just make a comment, please, off this nut? I don't know why, but it bothers me the phrase Black Gainesville. That bothers me. Because our neighborhoods are transforming. We just started this, and we were saying about the mayor representing all people, Gainesville being a city for all people. And that phrase, Black Gainesville, does not ring with me, because we have whites, Hispanics, Orientals living in East Gainesville, living in the Northwest, Fifth Avenue, Pleasant Street area. I understand the historical context, but that bothers me. You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same, and that bothers me.
Well, you know what it does, Mr. Henry? It reflects the knowledge of those who have not visited the east side of Waldo
Thank you
Road.
very much. Exactly.
That's all it reflects. If people, you know, had an opportunity to come to the east side of Gainesville and actually interact, they would know better. Okay. You have a majority of African Americans who live east of Waldo, but it's a very integrated
Right,
area.
it is.
But I have a follow-up question, not about housing, but it correlates with what you're talking about. We often hear phrases such as equal opportunity for advancement. And if you're elected mayor, how will you implement this to make it a reality for those who have not had those opportunities to advance?
I'll go first. I want to say, though, I do want to make a real quick comment about the housing, because I think there's also an objection I have that we associate affordable housing with multifamily dwellings and stuff. And a lot of people, they live in single-family neighborhoods and they don't want to see multifamily units crammed in the neighborhood. And I think it's offensive, because I don't think low-income people, regardless of color, are restricted to only desiring to live in an apartment the rest of their life. I think they want single-family homes with a yard also, and so I would hope any program focuses both on single-family dwellings as well as multifamily. Now, to answer your question, equal opportunity, when I was a city commissioner, we had Jimmy Williams as our EEOC officer. I understand the one who's there is a good one. I haven't met him personally. Jimmy's philosophy is one I totally embrace. He wanted to make sure that we were going full guns on outreach for every opportunity, every position that's been made available, to make sure we got into publications that we typically didn't. We spent money in areas we typically didn't to promote the positions coming on with the city, and to really be proactive in that stance. I think the mayor, again, shows disgraceful leadership when his campaign manager's hired and whoever he worked with inside City Hall to make it, quote, legal, simply did not even pass the smell test. It violated equal opportunity provisions in terms of advertising for the position, and it restricted it. And it basically said whoever the mayor trusts, which is his campaign manager, is who we ended up with. And it was an insult to a lot of the rank and file employees who've done great service for the city over these years.
Mark?
I'd certainly want to promote equal opportunity for everyone. There are some departments of our city that I've noticed a preponderance of people who look like me. And I just noticed that on my own and thought that that should change. These are not highly technical positions by any means. And I know when I went through the Citizens Academy for Gainesville, we were told that the fire department makes a concerted effort to try to promote among demographics that have not historically been a big part of their department. What degree that's true, I don't know, but I would like to see the types of things that Mr. Bradley talks about, that the gentleman he said was in the Equal Opportunity Department at that time when he was serving. And yeah, I would strongly support that. Also, I just want to make the point on the last question, I didn't make this, and that is that my third major governance objective, or platform plank, is to enable socially and economically disengaged people so that they can become productive and self-supporting, and also to revitalize struggling neighborhoods, and that those need to go together. They're integrally tied. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Well, I think, of course, it goes without saying we have to do a better job of equal opportunity. One of the things that hasn't been mentioned by my fellow candidates is the fact that the city's been using a practice of temporary employee, which allows them to bypass, which is exactly how the mayor's assistant was initially hired. It became a permanent position. There's a number of people that, and for various reasons, it's not necessarily avoiding equal opportunity, but it certainly creates the image that there's ways around the system and they can do what they want by doing things that I think are not above board and ethical for the practice of a city government. So in my view, one of the other areas that we haven't talked about, and this would be a bully pulpit for the mayor, is we have to have a far better educational experience for all of our young people, no matter where they live in the city. We have far too many students that don't finish high school. We have an incredibly poor attendance rate starting in kindergarten to third grade, which is a direct relationship to whether they're reading at grade level or doing math at levels. And while that's not a mayor's venue, it's certainly something as the bully pulpit he can bring attention to. And you know, as we talked of other issues, you can go to the people and get behind making some changes.
Mr. Henry?
Thank you. Well, really, there is still a certain culture that exists in different departments of the city and GRU. As a matter of fact, it wasn't a week ago, we were canvassing in the Pleasant Street area and we came upon this family, and just for context, they are a Caucasian family. They lived in Sarasota. The man's son was up here. They built a house on Pleasant Street on 3rd Street. And he was sharing with me the problem they were having in getting permitting done. And one of the employees said to the man, well, why you want to buy a house in Inward Town? Now, this is a city employee talking to an out-of-town gentleman who's investing $100,000 to build a house here in our city, but they feel free enough to say something like that? To me, that capsulizes the culture that still exists. As a District 1 Commissioner, again, I spent a half a day out at Deer Haven because the employees begged me to come out there so they could talk. So I had Cecil Howard and Bob Hunsinger out there a half a day, and we had about 18 employees to come out and share their concerns as to what was going on at Deer Haven. Something needs to be done. It's my job as mayor and the leader and my knowledge of it to get down to the bottom of it and make changes.
Mr. Shepherd?
Leadership is like organization is proposition. If you're organized, you're profit. If you look into your entities in which you have in your books, in your community, you will prophesize. But if you have people in your districts or in your town that are not showing you ways to prophesize, they're not keeping their house clean, then we're going to have a dirty house and things are going to be disordered. We talk about leadership. The leadership not only takes this format of us being people who want something done, but this takes my whole reason for running for mayor. When we have a city commission board and a city looking into our retirement money and making money off our retirement money and making money off our 401 case, and it isn't publicized? Why? When these commissioners can take and sit in these boards and take and not have no respect for what goes on in your house, then no.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Shepard.
Thank you.
It's time now to have the candidates to present your closing statements. And in advance, I'd like to thank you all for being here. You gave some great answers. You didn't really engage each other, because I hope you would, but
I'm not done.
I guess you guys get along. I don't want to see you hugging outside.
Yeah, 1 minute each, please.
Right, 1 minute. Start with you, Mark.
Okay. I'm sorry, could you start the clock again? I was amused by the last comment. I want to thank you, members of the Alachua County Black Democratic Caucus, for staging this forum, and thank you, audience members, for taking interest in the leadership of your city government and critical issues that we all face together. If the voters of Gainesville were to elect me, I would work diligently, full-time, to establish and follow a forward-looking and fully responsible energy policy, a policy that would assure affordable and socially and environmentally responsible energy, establish transparent and accessible governance that would facilitate the free exchange of information and views among city officials and citizens, and enable socially and economically disengaged residents and revitalize struggling neighborhoods, paths to progress that enable people to build their lives and rebuild their neighborhoods. I want to encourage you to vote for a candidate for mayor who has a history of working to drastically reduce crime in his neighborhood, as I have, is committed to civil and collaborative governance, which is why we don't argue too much up here, is knowledgeable of planning and design from my education, is fiscally conservative, has many ideas for the improvement and advancement of our cities. Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson.
Please check my website, markformayor.us.
For the city of Gainesville to address the current status it's in and go from the position we are to where I think we can be, I think it's going to take a change in leadership, and that's why we have all of us here tonight listening to your all and your questions and discussing between us. I also think this is an example of civility that you saw among us, which I think is critical for the success of any one of us who gets chosen by the citizens to become mayor. One of the things that we've all become frustrated with is our city not being respectful of the different, not being accessible, and not listening to good people who have put in hours tirelessly to try and improve the awareness levels. As mayor, I pledge that I will be accessible, I will be open to ideas from all points of view, and try and make the best judgments. I won't guarantee I'll be right all the time, but I would appreciate everyone's support and your vote on this upcoming election. Thank you.
Mr. Henry.
Thank you. There will be many challenges for the next mayor of the city of Gainesville. I am ready to lead in finding solutions to those challenges when elected. One of the challenges we face is restoring the confidence and mutual respect between local government and the citizens we serve. We must improve the economic progress of our city by diversifying our economy and recruiting companies that pay a living wage. Business development and economic expansion must be facilitated by developing sensible regulations that don't become a burden to the established owner or budding entrepreneur. Let me be very clear about my involvement in the biomass plant. Yes, I did vote for it. Did I believe it was a good idea at the time? Yes, I did at the time I voted for it. Would I vote for it again in light of recent developments? No. The fact of the matter is the plant will be built. As a matter of fact, it will come online sometime this summer. What we need to do now is negotiate the contract, or if possible, exit the contract altogether. And I thank you all very much for allowing me to speak to you today and answer the questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry. Mr. Shirley.
And thank you, people, for giving me this opportunity to sit here before you and hear your input of what we need to do. I've got all these entities down, and how I'm going to take and make our city what we need it to be. I'm going to address the transportation not to only the bus service, but to our roads. I'm going to address the airport not only by what has been proposed, but by my money, which my godfather, James P. Wilmot, has left me. And with that money, I'm going to show you what Gainesville should be like and not is. I'm going to show you the 114 things I have on my agenda that is going to make your house like a brand new house. I'm going to take the steps to provide it. Thank you.
Mr. Gray.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here and staying the whole time. My name is edbrady.com. You can check that out. I want to say that, what I want to say is, folks, fiscal discipline strengthens our community. Fiscal discipline is just not something we run on every couple of years, folks. 2 quick examples. Biomass plant. There's no question that fiscal discipline would make it more affordable and restore the viability of the enterprise. Our enterprise is threatened by this out-of-control contract, but also BRT. Again, what will strengthen the community? My idea, dedicate 3 out of every 4 new dollars to improving frequency, bus frequency in East Gainesville and elsewhere. That will strengthen the community far more than some grandiose plan. I'm running to replace incompetence and indifference with accountability and accessibility. I'm not here for the extravagance. I'm not going to come up with some grand scheme that costs you $300 million. I'm back to the basics. Fund core services, police, fire, parks, and infrastructure at a cost no greater than necessary.
Well, gentlemen, we'd like to thank you once again. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Henry, Mr. Shepherd, and Mr. Brady. Now, if there is a runoff, we will have another debate.
Right.
Okay? And hopefully, we don't have to do it, but the numbers say that we probably will. We'd like to thank you once again for being here. And remember that we want to represent all of the citizens in Gainesville. Thank you very much. Thank you.